It's interesting that on examining the maps and traveling many times through the area, we decided that one oasis could qualify as this important campsite, Al-Bad, in the Wadi El Afal in Saudi Arabia. Indeed, this is the only significant oasis for 150 miles. And then he describes more of their travels and discussions in the wilderness, the times it spent getting Ishmael, going back to get the brass plates from Laban, and so on and so forth. On page 32, the Hiltons say the Valley of Lemuel campsite must have been a safe place for Lehi to rest until the Lord gave further direction. Lehi had traveled 3 days beyond the shipyard town of Aqaba, then from Judah into the foreign nation of Dedan, and was therefore presumably beyond the reach of anyone in Judah or at Jerusalem who still sought his life. So that's how the scholars are understanding the Book of Mormon to read also. It's not 3 days' journey to the Valley of Lemuel from Jerusalem. They had gone from Jerusalem and went to the borders of the Red Sea. Then they went into the wilderness for 3 days to the Valley of Lemuel. And geographically, on the maps, that is precisely what you find. Within a 3-day journey, estimating on travelers' catalogs and travelers' logs of Nelson Gluck and some of the other people, they found that Valley of Lemuel, or a valley that could be plausibly that Valley of Lemuel, with a stream continually running into the Red Sea. So, I mean, this is pretty impressive. That there is a real world geography correlating with the Book of Mormon here. We're not, I've seen a critic, hold on. I've seen a critic who has gotten on and said, oh, you guys believe in fairy tale land. The Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and all that. Quit being stupid. You are being stupid. Whoever you are, I could care less at this point. If you have something intelligent to bring to the conversation, bring it. We're talking real world geography. Green Messiah, I have to thank you for not stooping to that kind of idiocy. At least you are intelligently asking good questions. Thank you. That's all I've ever asked anyway. I know you and your dad don't like me. It's okay. I'm not here for a popularity contest. I'm here to teach you guys something. Because I happen to know something. Just like you guys do. You guys know stuff too. Isn't that the beauty of YouTube? Yeah! Communication. This idiocy of fairy tales and Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy and all that, yeah, whoopee. You're not doing the Anti-Mormon cause any good, dude, whoever the heck you are. I could care less who you are. By acting like such a lame brain. At least ask intelligent questions like Green Messiah is doing for us, would you please? That would be very nice. The interesting thing is, we really are dealing with real-world geography here. It's fascinating. It fits. There really was an ancient frankincense trail that goes down to the borders of the Red Sea and follows. Now, interestingly enough, Green Messiah, you've asked about the directions, the compass, the directions, and that you think the Book of Mormon's all wrong with the directions? Not necessarily. No, it's not. Let me show you this. I understand because of John Sorensen's material. What Sorensen is talking about is the directions after they got to the New World. I understand that. I'm very familiar with John Sorensen's outstanding research in that area. But let me show you something. And the Book of Mormon does depict this too. It's very interesting. Very good. When we look at a map of the area, you can see the entire Red Sea is going from this point of view up here, from this point of view, going down. It's not going directly south. This frankincense trail, a real frankincense trail, it's going south, southeast until Nahum. And at Nahum, an actual place on a map, people, this place has been discovered. Yes, Dartmouth College had a map with Nahum on it. The problem is they didn't acquire it until 1927. The Book of Mormon says we did travel many days in the wilderness. We got at Nahum. They buried Ishmael. They buried Ishmael because he had died, and the women mourned. The Book of Mormon mentions that. The women mourned. Another perfect desert custom, no joke. You got to study the Arabian desert cultures, man. From Nahum, Nephi says, we then turned and went due east. And that is precisely where this ancient frankincense trail goes. You're going south-southeast along the borders of the Gulf, of the Red Sea, yes. And then all of a sudden you hit Nahum, and pow, you go due east. Nobody in 1829 knew that. Nobody knew very much about Arabia anyway. Even if they did, that doesn't refute the Book of Mormon. They are writing as only eyewitnesses could. They actually traveled these routes, stopped at these places. The Hiltons also show in this wonderful travelogue here that it is only along this frankincense trail, along the coast of the Red Sea, that there are 117 wells drilled. What did Nephi describe? He says, well, we kept to the more fertile parts of the wilderness. Yeah, they're in the empty corner here. This is one of the hottest deserts on the planet. You have to keep to the more fertile parts of the wilderness. That's precisely what you would do to survive. So it's kind of interesting. Let me get over to okay, the Valley of Lemuel. Let's see, 49, page 49. I'm going to read a quick selection on page 49. Before our trip, we heard that Lehi had traveled 3 days in the wilderness. 1 Nephi 2, verse 6. From Jerusalem, when he camped in a valley he named Lemuel. However, the preceding verse of that reference suggests that Nephi started counting the 3 days from the time the group arrived at the borders near the shore of the Red Sea. That's what I've just read to you. Which must have been Aqaba. That is, after arriving at the head of the Red Sea, he went 3 days and camped by a river of water. That's how I have always read that verse in the Book of Mormon. The Hiltons agree with that. We determined how far Lehi might be able to travel in 3 days. Using a pencil compass, we marked 60 miles, plus or minus, and we made a sweep on the map that distance from the Aqaba, the place where Lehi would first approach the Red Sea. Interestingly enough, geographically, coming from Jerusalem, there is only one place you can get to the borders of the Red Sea, and that's at Aqaba. Just precisely what Nephi said. We traveled till we got to the borders of the Red Sea. There's only one place. That would have been at Aqaba. From there, they extrapolate the proper information. How many miles in a day can you travel? Anywhere from 15 to 25, depending on how fast you go. So they rounded it off to 60 miles and started looking, and sure enough, there's possible locales for the Valley of Lemuel and the River of Laman. Just like Potter found. They found that valley. Very interesting. Interestingly, here at Al-Bad, there's an oasis. It's the end of the Tihama, or the plain. Since a little way south, steep cliffs fall precipitously straight into the sea. The actual path, once you get to the borders of the Red Sea, your path is cut off. So you have to go up into the mountains a little bit and then travel parallel again to the Red Sea. But you're not right on the shore of the Red Sea as you were originally for the first few miles, because of the geographical mountains literally block the path. The only way to do it is to turn away from the Red Sea and go east up the hills in the Wadi Urfain, through the mountain range in wide sweeping bends.